Lent today. And for all of those of you who are already thinking about your fasts, I would like to highlight for you that Sundays are feast days. That's how the 40 days works. So just a little tidbit that is important to know, not only when you calculate days, but as a remembrance that Sundays are all little resurrection feasts. So Sunday is a free day in that sense. Lent began in the early church. It was established by the church primarily as a way to focus a remembrance on who Jesus was, Jesus' life, and particularly Jesus' passion and death and resurrection. A way to help the early church have a time when there was an intentionality about remembering that, about telling the stories, about practicing living like Jesus through that time. And the church gave the community, the neighbors, an opportunity by absolving them of sins during that time to come back to the church. So people who had been distanced for various reasons, as happens to all of us, were invited back in. It was a way for then, through Lent, but particularly for Easter, for our Feast of the Resurrection, to remember that the fellowship is all of us, and the fellowship was extended to all peoples. So that's the memory of the early church. At Ash Wednesday, we talked about what I would call in biblical terms the simple fast. And the simple fast we defined as one that has essentially three parts. It's charity, where the right and left hand don't know what the other's doing, of giving, in other words, without holding on or without showcasing it. And prayer. In prayer we were told to go into a room by ourselves, shut the door, so that we are praying to our Father in secret. And the goal of that, obviously, is that it's our connection time with God. It's not supposed to be a grandiose thing so that others revere us as holy ones, but so that we, in fact, are communicating directly with God. And fasting. And during the fast, we were instructed to not look like we were fasting, not to run around announcing how, whatever it is, how hungry we are, or how poor we are, or whatever it might be. And we're told to put oil on our head, and to wash our faces, and to go about our lives and our daily business, still remembering that that's a connection that we are able to make with God, and bringing us back into right relationship with God. Well, for Lent, we also hear in Isaiah 58 that there is a chosen fast, which honestly is much greater than the simple fast, as if the simple fast weren't enough for us. But the chosen fast, Isaiah is able to define for us as loosing the chains of injustice. Loosing the chains of injustice. We are called to, during Lent particularly, obvious all of our lives, but to focus on the systems in our world that are unjust. And we are to work to help those systems of our world and the institutions and all of the processes that we encounter all the time respect the dignity of every human being, to honor people as God's beloved. We are called to set the oppressed free. People who are oppressed are in those unjust systems and are often treated without gentleness, without love, without the respect. So not just the big systems, but also the individuals. We are called to free them from that kind of oppression. We also are called to break the yokes that people bear. I was talking with the Mercuros after the 8 o'clock, and they've just been to a country where they saw oxen with the yokes on. If you picture the kind of things that we have in our head of oxen with the big wooden bars, and they're tied to it, and they just trudge. And what Mike said was most poignant to him was there wasn't even a driver at that point. There obviously had been, but the oxen were yoked and so well knew just what path they were supposed to trod, carrying a cart behind them, that they just did it. People can be like that. People can be yoked so that they don't even have that person who's driving them anymore, but they have a system and a structure where they know they just have to do this XYZ path without freedom of choice, without being honored, without being able to say, I don't want to do that, and let it go. We're called to break those yokes during this time, during the chosen fast. And then we are called in Isaiah 58, three things that actually also then appear in Matthew 28. We are called to feed all of those who are hungry. St. Mary's does a very good job at that. I believe that we're probably being called to do at least what we're doing. We're called to feed the hungry. We're called to clothe the naked. And we're also called, it's a wonderful word in Isaiah, to shelter, offer shelter to the wanderer, not the homeless. The word that's used is wanderer. And doesn't that kind of change our image of it a little bit? It's not just the people that we would say, well, homeless, probably from homeless to homeless. There's a part of us that becomes almost numbed to that reality. But if we see people as transitioning, as wanderers, and we're called in the chosen fast to offer to them shelter, that's part of our call. And then, those things are in Matthew 28. One of the most remarkable things to me that's in Isaiah 58 that might surprise you as well is we are to honor our families. That's actually part of the chosen fast. We are to honor our families with the love and the respect and the care and the dignity that we're called to offer to all people. But we're supposed to start with our families, all generations, those ahead of us, the partners that we have now, our children, our descendants. We are called to honor those people, not to say, you know what, you may be suffering, I have to go take care of all of these other folks out there. It's a witness for us to be able to love and treat with dignity, respect, kindness, and thanksgiving to God, those whom we hold dearest. It's really the easiest thing to do, but sometimes we forget. So in this time of the chosen fast, we're also called to love those people. And by witnessing to loving them, and by witnessing to keeping the fast that we have defined for us, that puts us in right relationship with God. Not only are we in right relationship with God and with one another, but we are a light shining in the world on how to do this. In Jesus' name.